I'm sure these guys have already been in meetings and want to get the ball rolling here. So I'm Kelly Emley here, obviously representing the Lions Club. We like to be seen. Putting on the state of the city. Laura Smith is also here with us with the library board. I don't see any of the youth council. If they are, I don't appreciate them. They're always with us helping out. So just as kind of a meeting for question and answer. I don't know if it's a debate type issue meeting, more of a question and answer. We'll let the council decide that. I know there's been a lot of changes on city council and city employees and whatnot. So at that time, we'll just turn the time over to Mayor Erickson.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome for those who stayed for the second act. We appreciate it very much. Thank you again for being here this evening. We are also broadcasting not broadcasting, it's just available online through YouTube for those who are interested in participating this evening. What we'd like to do, I've asked a number of individuals, all of the council, some of our public servants, and city engineer and director of our library to each take a few minutes and give you an update about the things that are happening in their area of responsibility. So if they each take 2-3 minutes, give us some background, and this is how we'll go. We're going to start with Dave Kavanaugh, who is our emergency communications director. Dave's going to tell you a little bit more about his role at the city, what he's been doing. Then we'll hear from Laura, then Holly, then Justin, then Lyle, Amber, Joel, Bryce, and Daryl. And then once we get to there, I will have a couple of remarks, and then we'll open it up to questions. So, Laura, please, Dave, and please step up to the microphone, and we'll go to that point. By the way, there's cookies, donuts. Please help yourselves. Yes, Dave.
Okay, Dave Kavanaugh. I am a ham radio operator. Retired as a high school teacher, facilities manager for 30 years before that, but I also had a short career as a professional emergency manager up in Washington. As part of my ham radio job, if you will, one of the things that we do every year is the Great Utah Shakeout earthquake exercise, and the Ham Radio Club in Cache Valley participates in that. Put together communications net, so we simulate regular communications going down. 2 years ago, we participated in that drill. I have a trailer with a bunch of radios in it that we parked out in front of the city building, and we had myself and a couple of other local ham radio operators. Kenley, were you involved in that? Yeah, Kenley Brown is one of our radio operators. He and I and Stuart Blake were participating in the exercise, and Mayor Erickson came by and stuck his head in the trailer and, what's going on? So we explained we had a portable communications trailer. We were doing the exercise, and it was kind of a preparedness thing, not really affiliated with anything except for the Ham Radio Club. So we said, well, this is something we ought to talk about. Maybe we can make it a little more formal and better than a trailer. So he found a space in the city. He found some money in the budget. And so we built an emergency communications center down the hall, which I'll be opening up as soon as I'm finished here, where we participate in drills, communications exercises. If we had an emergency in the city, we could use it as a coordination center. Part of the process that was involved in that was the first thing I asked was, where is the city's emergency plan? Because usually a communications plan is part of an overall emergency plan, and nobody could find it. Nobody could find a binder or a thumb drive or a CD or anything with an emergency plan on it. So I also wrote a fairly comprehensive city emergency plan, which dovetails with the county plan and the state plan, and it's based on FEMA guidelines, and it's waiting for comments from the mayor and the city council, but I think it's about 95% ready to go. So we can dust that off and put it on the shelf and have that as well. That'll be a big step in the direction for preparedness in the city.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to add a couple of things when everyone's had a chance to talk. Some of the other additional things that we've been able to add with some of the ARPA funding that the city received. So Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Laura.
I'm gonna go open the radio room. If anybody would like to take a look at that, I'll be down there for a couple of minutes.
You can talk from there, or you can talk from here, whichever you'd like. Please introduce yourself. Let those who are in attendance know what your role with the city is.
Okay, is that good? So I'm Laura Smith. I'm the director of the library, and I passed out 2 papers. The first one, if you're a numbers person, those are some statistics from our annual report, and I just wanted to highlight on one of those, the library visitors was up 30% from one year to the next. So from 12,875 visits to it went up. And so we are seeing more and more people coming to the library. And sometimes people think because there are digital materials that we're not seeing people coming into the library. And at least right now, that's not the case for us. However, with the digital materials, we are seeing a greater demand for that, and that is up 20% more checkouts from 2022 to 2023. The second page just shows our programs that we have at the library, and what we've tried to do is make sure that there's a program for everyone at every age. So this fall, we started 4 new programs. We started and I'm just going to highlight the ones that were new in the fall. You can see on that paper all of the programs that are available. But we started one for babies and their parents. We started a yoga preschool, and then we had one that was for kids that were kindergarten to 3rd grade, but we added one, and those are held once a month. We added one that was 4th to 6th grade because we didn't really have anything programming for that age group. The other thing we've added is we're working with the senior center, and every week we have a board member that goes to the senior center, and the people at the senior center are able to request books that we could then bring over for them for the next week. We also just have books there from the library that are there for a couple months that they can check out and read anytime. And then once a month, we have somebody come in from the community. We've had board and staff, and now we're having some community members come in and do a book talk and talk to the people there at the senior center. And that's just going really well. One reason it helps get the seniors the materials that they want, but also part of that purpose for us as well is getting community members into the senior center to see what's happening there and what's going on. And I think people that have gone are very impressed of the things that we're doing there. And I just want to lastly add that we couldn't do all that we do without the support of the city council, and also we have a lot of volunteers that make these things possible. Without our volunteers, we wouldn't be able to have all these programs and all those things. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. Great update. Holly. Before Holly gets there, Holly is functioning. Her role is Chief Administrative Officer, but she's also the acting city administrator for the time being. So that's Holly's role.
So right now we have a lot going on in our community. As you guys know, we've got lots of development that is coming in. We've got lots of changes with state code. We have done a lot of shifting when it comes to the office and our staff. One thing that I would really like to reiterate that the community maybe doesn't understand or know is we've got really good workers. We have really good city workers that are dedicated as a team to work for the city. We've got our roads crew, water, parks. We've got the MBR plant. There's a lot of moving parts that most of the time the community doesn't understand on a daily basis that happens at the city. So first I just want to say I think we have a really good team, and I'm really proud of the work that's been happening in the city. We have a lot of work to do, so know that there's a lot of work to do, but we're on an uphill, and we're really proud of that. When it comes to things that are happening within the office, we've got the senior center that has been amazing. I'm sure council member Amber will put a little bit on that maybe, but we have that functioning. And when I tell you, we have every morning that people are walking the halls. We're there playing pickleball. We have Spartan coming down to play basketball. we have a very active office, and it may not look that way as you guys are driving by, but when I tell you, it's a very active place to be. So we would love more input and volunteerism when it comes to that, when it comes to the senior center. So if you have any questions about that, you can either ask Amber or Karen Tesian, who's over the park bench. When it comes to development, we have a lot of changes that we're implementing with staff, things that have changed and things that are up and coming, but we're working really hard to implement those changes, and each day is a new day that we try to tackle, and we just appreciate you guys as members of the community that do call us and give us good positive feedback. We appreciate that. We also like the positive criticism. If there's things that we can do differently, please give us some feedback, but please be appreciative of the fact that we are trying. But we do try for the community, and other than that, that's...
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah.
Justin, Director of Finance, City Recorder.
So the mayor asked me to touch on a couple of things that seem to be misnomers in the community. Some people know, some don't. But does growth pay for itself? We do the best we can. So we charge 2 impact fees. We charge every new home pays an impact fee, and when you see, for example, in the Richmond Village, a 5-plex, which will be 5 families, they actually pay 5 impact fees. They don't pay 1, they pay 1 for each unit. Just as a point of reference, what does that mean? For example, since July 1st of 2023 to current, we have collected $324,736 in water impact fees and $221,835 in sewer impact fees. Those funds will be used to help pay our outstanding bond obligations on our water tank and infrastructure project, as well as the MBR plant. And we also, a couple of years ago, we implemented what we call a water dedication payment. That payment are collected when either someone brings irrigation shares to the city when they want to build, or they have to pay a $5,000 fee basically per acre, and we have so far collected that $55,000 in this fiscal year. Those funds will help us purchase will help us to purchase shares in the future. The mayor asked me to give a small update. The council's going to touch on RAPS tax later this evening, so I'm going to leave that alone, but we are very proud of our new pavilion that is down on the city park. It's called the Star Pavilion, and it's going to be open to the community. It's got 8 brand new powder coated tables, and it was paid for with RAPS tax funding. That project, the gazebo, we have many projects in this city that were paid for with RAPS tax that we would not have been able to do. I'll let the council talk about that in a bit. The other thing, as a point of reference, is the city is doing well in sales tax, but it could always be better. Our sales tax revenue is our most volatile tax because it can go up and down. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. So we're staying the status quo there. So you're like, well, what impact has lease made on the community? So lease came in about June of last year. We see their numbers starting to come in, but there was an agreement reached between the city council and lease on the sales tax revenue that comes to the city. So a portion of that will go back to them for a period of time. So we don't get all of that. We get some of it, but lease is a tremendous asset to the city. I was also asked, how much does the city collect in property tax on a yearly basis? Right now we collect just over $320,000. The one area that we really struggle with is maintaining roads. Roads used to be $100,000 a block to install a new one. Now they're $225 to $250, if not more, depending on if there's road base. Our Class C road funds tax that we collect on a yearly basis is between $125,000 and $150,000. So we don't collect enough gas tax funds in the course of a year to do one block of road. That's why you see us do so much chip sealing, so much slurry seal, so much fog coating. Is just because we can cover more. We can't afford to build new roads. Mayor, unless you have anything else, I'll turn it over to you.
That sounds great. I'd like to hear from Weston for just a second. I didn't ask him to prepare any remarks, but I'd like the community to know who you are. Tell us who you are.
I'm Weston Balan. I'm Richmond City's engineer, so I'm involved in the day-to-day operations as well as reviewing subdivisions and projects that are built within the city and looking at infrastructure and helping to plan for the future with water and wastewater and transportation. And it's been a privilege to work in Richmond. It's a great community, and it's good to be involved.
I think we're going to call Weston the father of Fourth West.
That's you.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Thank you, Weston. Lyle.
All right, so I've been
Lyle,
assigned.
how many years have you been on the council? Just tell everybody. This is your second term? Third term?
So I filled in for a vacancy this September. I'll have completed 8 years.
He's our senior councilman.
So, but I was thinking about the other years of volunteer that I had because of the fire department. If you include that, I'm approaching 19 years. So, anyways, so I'm over capital improvements now. That's what I've been assigned. So talking about 4th West and 500 North are both roads have been funded. I think 4th West will be accomplished well before 500 North. We're waiting on the county on that one. But if I recall right, 4th West, they're out for bid, right? Is where we're
Opening
at.
bids tomorrow
So,
afternoon.
so anyways, that'll be a great improvement. Allow us a secondary access into Lee's area, so it'll go from 4th West down to 150. Is that what we're calling? Anyways, 150 north and then up to Lee's. So that'll be up to the new standards of the city. So it'll be a great road. Other things in capital improvement wise, we've got 4 studies out. There are 2 separate sewer studies, a water study and transportation study. All these are just going to allow us to gain information so we can make educated decisions for future improvements and growth and those type of nature of things. So that's what I have.
A lot happening.
There's a lot happening for sure. A lot of moving parts.
Thanks, Lyle. Amber.
So I'm Amber Irvin, and if you've come to the senior center, you'll know me. I had somebody ask me the other day, have you enjoyed council? And I said, if I hadn't had the senior center, I don't know how I would answer that. Growing up in Richmond, I thought I knew everyone. And what I found over the last 14 months was we have some amazing people in the community. So I learned how to love Richmond again. So our goal last year with the senior center exceeded our expectations in the first month and a half. I did not anticipate what was going to happen or what did happen, but it has been remarkable. Last year we averaged 115 pantry visitors a month. We had 823 on the average food items that went out of our pantry and onto the shelves of our seniors. We had an average of 52 volunteer hours a week, and with the average of about 42 to 50 seniors in and out of the building throughout the week. If you haven't been to the pantry, you need to come and see it. It's really an amazing sight when you go in and you see this food on a shelf that who cares about a little cup of plastic peaches? Gail Alvey, that's no longer with us, his words were, I knew I was having a happy day when I could open up my cupboard and see that little cup of peaches, because he knew that people on Thursday were going to see him and care about him. We learned how to care about our community with the park bench. This coming year, our biggest goal is to just sustain the activities that we have, and also to encourage that growth and that involvement. We love new faces. Bring your friends. Tell your friends. Invite them down. Every Thursday we have a hot lunch, and the calendar is on our Facebook page, or they can stop by the city office or down to the center and get a calendar. Every week we have different activities. The amount of people that play cards in Richmond is astonishing. Like, it is shocking to me the amount of cards that is played. What's even more shocking is people that were neighbors that didn't know they were neighbors until they sat down to play a game of cards. The things that we've learned and grown and learned how to love the community again has been pretty awesome. The other thing that I'm focusing on this coming year is Black and White Days. Kelly left us, which I'm so sad because she took everything with her. But looking forward, as we look at events for Black and White Days, feel free to reach out to me. I'm one of those that, believe it or not, people talk to me. So feel free to talk to me. Give me your insights. Give me your thoughts. I think that that's what makes our community great, is the ability to communicate and have those conversations and share that vision of what we want to see happen. And I think with that, then we can have the 109th Black and White Days be pretty dang amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amber. Now, for the new members of the council, Joel Draxler.
I have the opportunity to work with the planning and zoning is my primary role, is to be the liaison between the council and the planning and zoning. We've only met once since I've been taken taken office. So I don't have a lot of experience there yet, but I really look forward to working with that group, and we have a lot on our plate as Richmond City that these folks are going to need to tackle. Certainly we're going to be having growth and managing that growth and trying to know how the best way is to handle that growth and manage where we want that growth and how we want that growth to happen is a key to maintaining the city that we all love. I love Richmond. We've been here 13 years. We moved here and I grew up in North Logan, and Richmond to me today feels a lot like North Logan felt to me when I was a kid. I wouldn't want to live in North Logan today because there are just way too many people there. But there is still an opportunity to keep Richmond feeling the same way through planning appropriately and developing appropriately. And so I hope that you'll be willing to reach out to the planning and zoning folks and to myself and let me know what your thoughts are as we go through this process. And I want you to know that my door is open, that you'll be heard. And it doesn't mean we're always going to agree, and it doesn't mean that you might not get what you're hoping for. I had one person come up to me the other day and say, well, you're going to stop growth, right? And I said, well, that's not really my option. I don't own all the land around here, so I can't really control that. The other opportunity I have is I get to be involved with the sporting events for Black and White Days. So I need some help. So if anyone wants to help out with both the running race and the cycling event, that would be wonderful. Reach out to me, and I would welcome the help. They've been successful in the past, and I certainly don't want them to die on my watch. So we'll do what we can to keep that going.
Thank you, Joel. Bryce.
Yeah, I'm Bryce Wood, and my responsibility is going to be over the youth council, which is a pretty exciting thing for me. I've been really impressed. I haven't had a chance to meet with them yet in the 4 weeks that we've been in office so far. But in December, we put on a Christmas concert in the old theater, and Aaliyah, the youth mayor, she came to us and asked, well, could we maybe sell popcorn, at this event? Like, heck yeah. And so they came and they sold a crap ton of popcorn, and they were able to make quite a bit of money in that. I was like, man, you gotta share that. But I know it was pretty awesome. I'm like, hey, let's get a little thing going here. But really impressed that so many youth being willing to come out and try to learn and see just how government works and have volunteering opportunities. So it's going to be exciting. We've lived in Richmond for about 6 years. I've worked out of Richmond for a lot longer than that, had some awesome chances to meet a lot of people here in town, and that's kind of what made us want to bring our family here. So really excited to be a part of this community. And if anybody would like to be involved with the Youth Council, we are looking for adult advisors. So, and if you want to be on the Youth Council, it looks like maybe that time has passed. But if you there are some parameters that we must adhere to strictly.
Thank you, buddy. Everybody's a comedian. Okay, Daryl.
Well, I'm Daryl Black, and I'm the newest member of the council. I think I'm going on 10 days now, so pretty green. So I'm happy to be here, happy to help. The mayor has kind of asked that I help with the Richmond maintenance and to help with the capital projects. So hopefully I can help Lyle be of some good, and we can take care of some projects that need to be done. I got to admit, when I first moved to Richmond, I wasn't sold on the idea. I grew up, I don't know if you've ever heard of the City Rocks, but that's where I grew up. I grew up on a cattle ranch there. And we moved here to Richmond, and my wife, as soon as we moved in, she loved the place. I mean, she was ready to die here. And we always tease each other. I have some burial plots out in Idaho, and that's been in our family for generations, and we've decided that whoever dies first picks the dirt. But I've came around to the idea. I love Richmond. I must, because I'm still here after 30 years. So it's been a pleasure to live here. I've worked with a lot of you over. It's amazing. Everyone in this room, other than maybe 2 or 3, I've dealt with on a handshake basis. So it's pretty neat. And that's what the community's all about, is being able to know everybody. And like Amber said, even no matter how hard you try, there's people you just don't know. But a friend of mine one time, he told me that I was visiting with him about Richmond. I'd only been here about 2 years at the time, and he says, I'm going to tell you a little story. He says there's a guy sitting outside on a bench that connected 2 towns together, and a couple of people were walking down the trail, and he says, I asked him, how was the people in the town you just left? And he says, they were the most ignorant people I've ever met, and they went about their way. And he asked the next couple that came down, he says, what's the town like where you just left? And he says, they are the most awesome people I've ever met. And so he said, you decide what kind of people live in your community, and then you be one of those people. And I've always tried to do that. Anyway, happy to be here. Hope I can do some good.
Thank you, Darrell. I've got a list of things here I wanted to share with you, but before we do that, I wanted to call out a couple of things. Melissa Tittenser is in the back of the room. Melissa, would you don't have to stand, but wave your hand. Melissa's one of our city employees. We also have with us this evening former council members and former city administrator. Marla was here with us this evening. Cal is here, Terry is here, and my wife Leslie are here. Did I miss anybody that are former elected officials that are with us this evening? Just wanted to thank them for being a part of it. A lot of yellow vests from the Lions Club. Very much appreciate them being here. I've got a couple of ideas to throw out and share with you, just some thoughts that I've had. I'll probably forget half of what it was that I wanted to talk to you about, but after I'm done giving you a couple of thoughts and a couple of updates, we would love to hear from you. Questions, concerns. This is a chance for you to share thoughts. And, we had a great meeting the hour before about how are we going to accommodate, how are we going to allow for multifamily housing or for increased density as it comes along. It was a good meeting. I took a couple of pages of notes. I want to go back to Dave Kavanaugh and his role, the things that we've done. During COVID, there was a lot of federal money that got distributed to the cities. We will be spending a fair amount of that on the new road on 400 West. We have spent some on this building, not the least of which is a new generator. So we actually have, and for you techie people, you might love this, we have fiber optic in this building that was left when the school district gave us the building. So we have the best internet possible. But just in case something happens, we purchased a Starlink system. So in this building, we have redundancy. If there's ever an emergency, people can come in here, click onto the internet through the Wi-Fi, and be connected throughout the world to stay in touch with their families. We also have a backup generator for this part of the building. It also powers all the IT and the Wi-Fi throughout the building. We are working on, some of the things that we're working on in this building here. We need insulation. I don't know if you noticed, but when the heat goes off, it gets cold pretty fast. This building doesn't really have a lot of insulation in it. We're going to be, if we can, finding some resources to do that. This building has really turned into a community center for us. We've replaced almost every air handler, Justin. 22 in the 6 years we've owned it. We've replaced 22 air conditioning systems. The Spartan, who's our partner, our tenant here, our primary tenant, has contributed a significant amount of money to that. We've gotten some grant funding for the senior center. All of the money, the city has in its budget this year for this building $30,000 or $40,000 worth of improvements. All of the improvements that were done for the emergency communications were done, some by donations from the members of the RC, from the HEM Club, some from the city. We have a great contractor that works with us, who's a former city employee. We've watched him work. He does great work and really benefits the city by his knowledge and his skills. So going from that, just a couple of things. One of the questions on the state of the city is the city in good financial shape? There's an easy way to tell that. Our bills getting paid. Now, potholes are always going to come up. There's twice as many as there were back in September. We really did struggle in 2023 to get on the potholes like we really intended to. So 2024 is going to be a year when we're going to be out. We have good equipment for it. We're going to try and get that done. But after all of your operating expenses are covered and you've allowed for repairing machinery and equipment and whatnot, if you can take money and put it into your fund at the end of the year for capital projects and future savings, then you're doing well. Justin, did we accomplish that last year?
Yes.
We put money aside. So we are putting money aside for a rainy day fund. That's in addition to this year we added a budget for the park bench. I'm happy to say 50% of what we spent, at least I'm thinking back in December, 50% of what we budgeted to that point was actually came back in the form of donations. So they're very active in seeking donations to help facilitate that. We've added freezers out of our budget to be able to have the meals. You know, we have on-site supplies for that. We've had our freezer died that we got from the school district, but every time we repair that thing, it's like $3,500. And so we thought we'd rather create a relationship with Daryl's Appliance than have to keep fixing it. So we bought a couple, and I think we just ordered one more because the park bench is doing so well.
And oven.
And the oven. Tell us about the oven. We got most of that donated, did we not?
Yeah, so it was really neat. What we've had to do up to this point is order the food because we did not have a certified kitchen through the health department. Spartan Companies are absolutely amazing and came to us and said, tell us what you want and we'll match. And so thanks to them, we were able to get a commercial grade kitchen, which was the last thing that we needed to get that kitchen certified. But along with that donation, we had an AED donated. So that's a remarkable just device to have. It's needed. We have people there. And it was a member of the community that donated that. We also had a member of the community donate toilets, the money to upgrade the toilets.
New ones.
New toilets, because I don't know about you all. I think Bryce touched on this at one point. We're not young and little anymore, and we had little kitty potties on that north side.
Squatty potties.
Yeah, squatty potties, and so that was another contribution that was made. The Lions Club, thank you. They make a contribution every year that has helped with cheese. You wouldn't believe the amount of cheese that seniors enjoy, and so that helped facilitate that. So those are some items that have been donated that's allowed us to progress.
During the year, so 2020, we'll just call it the calendar year 2023 was a really interesting one. We went from Logan City collecting our solid waste to a company called Econo Waste. Just going back a little bit, the city began working with Logan City many decades ago, 1970s, and Logan City has, my estimation, taken great care of us at a very minimal cost. But they got to the point where they decided, you know what, this just is not working for us. It's too expensive. We are providing a service that, at the time this was organized, there really weren't a lot of other options. I still remember the city dump that we had right where, Kevin's nodding his head, right where the second pond is for our wastewater treatment facility. That all went away when the solid waste opened up and they created a landfill. I just want to emphasize again for Mayor Daines and her crew and previous mayors, there's a lot of really negative comment that came from that about the relationship between Richmond City and Logan City. I have to tell you, from my perspective, none of it's valid. Logan City did a great job for us, and they did it for many years. We were able to hopscotch away from the other cities in the community. Not that we don't like them, but I can see Terry nodding her head. One of our concerns was when you get in a consortium with a lot of cities, your ability to react to the problem gets taken away. You have to be able to if there's 6 people trying to make a decision or 5 people trying to make a decision in one city, that's a lot different than 2 or 3 people in 19 cities. And so we felt like the right thing to do was to negotiate, and we were successful working with a company called Econowaste. They also entered into contracts with Smithfield City, Lewiston City, and Cornish. And not everybody went with the consortium. I understand that they actually did really well, and I'm very happy for them. But we valued our ability to make the decision ourselves, and we really feel like it didn't end up costing the residents anything to do that. So it's one of the wins from 2023. A couple of other items. Our sewer plant. The sewer plant is going on, I think it went live 2007? 2009. So our sewer plant is soon to be 20 years old. The equipment that was designed for it, a lot of it's wearing out. We're replacing as much of it as we can. However, its capacity is limited, and as the city grows, it becomes a more and more of a vital issue to address it. The State Water Quality Board gave us $100,000 and a short-term loan to be able to study the issue. That one of the reasons that I asked Weston to be here tonight, in case there's a question about the study. There's another thing that I think the public needs to be aware. The state Water Quality Board is a source of funding for smaller communities like ourselves. At some point in time, we're going to have to address what's happening with that facility. The wastewater goes in, it treats it in a specific way, it collects the solids. There's microbes that eat the solids, and then there's also a process whereby it pulls the clean water out, and the water that goes down the channel into the Cub River is some of the cleanest water that goes into it. It's amazing, but it's very expensive. It costs the city $100,000 a month to run that plant. So we are in this year and the next couple of years going to be spending a lot of time working with our consultants. We did have our city administrator leave. He had the licenses that we need to run the plant. We have compensated by hiring some professionals through JUB. They will be helping us design and also prepare our staff to obtain the licenses so that we can function on our own again. But we'll be having conversations in city council meeting about, among other things, Lewiston City has approached us about joining forces with them and making our sewer plant a regional resource for other cities. That has some very distinct advantages for us. First of all, the offset of cost, or the ability, for example, to continue to operate it, add the things that we need, let Lewiston come in, and the theory would be, let's say that they come in and they are 30% of the demand on the system. I don't think it'll be quite that high. But maybe we can keep the cost for the homeowners roughly the same over time, or keep it from growing at the same rate by having additional entities pay into the system. That's one of the things that we're studying. So if you hear a rumor that Richmond is talking to Lewiston about possibly joining forces on wastewater treatment, it is true. We do not have a formal agreement, but we have been to the state. We've met with them. Weston presented our case with the blessing of Lewiston City as well. Mayor Hall, he and I talk regularly about, trying to find a way to provide the resource at the least possible cost. That's what it's all about. You have state code that you've got to meet. Every time we flush, the water's got to go somewhere, and that water has to be treated. It cannot go into the waterways of the city, of the state, without being treated. Lewiston City, for example, they are not under orders yet, but their wastewater system is actually what was left over from the sugar plant many years ago, and they just don't have the technology and the equipment to make sure that the wastewater stays and is treated long enough before it goes into the Cub River. So the state is really looking to Richmond City to try and partner with Lewiston to see if we can come up with a solution that, when put together, is better for both cities than each city operating on its own. One or two other items. We had a survey that went around. I hope that you had a chance to take it if you're in the city and you get the newsletter, about the use of RAPS tax. Next year is the 110th year of Black and White Days. Craig, did I say that correctly? Yes, sir. 110th year. So we are going to make an application this year for RAPS tax to remodel the Black and White office area, make it a little more usable, correct some of the age-related things. The windows are leaking, the paneling is original, and it probably has some water behind it. We're going to expand the office area for the Black and White Committee so that it's a little more usable for them. And if we have enough money from the grant, we'll try and address some of the things that need to be worked on in the restrooms and such. We are also hoping sometime in the next few months, and this is on my wish list, meeting with our state representatives and seeing if we can get some money from the state to expand the barn, that Craig calls it. We are having an increase in the number of exhibitors to Black and White Days for the cattle show every year. It's one of how many total cattle shows nationwide, Craig? It's not very many.
Not too many, but we're the longest ongoing show in the world, bar none. There's no shows gone on for 110 years at the same location, same time of year, nowhere in the world. We are the number one.
So it's an amazing legacy that we want to preserve, and to do that, we have wiring that we need to have upgraded. We need to expand the barn. We have, in fact, I was talking last summer, well, during Black and White Days, certain parts of the show are broadcast on the internet. And we only have one outlet in that building. There's two outlets in the building. And there were times when the demand on it would pop off and the breaker would flip, and so you'd have to walk over, flip the breaker, and then you'd have to reboot and get on. It sounds like a simple problem. The real challenge is that exposure, that's exposure that we really never have thought about before. And the benefits to the community seem to be that our community celebration continues to grow. We added the Stampede Bike Race 2 years ago. We started with 47 riders, and it wasn't very big, but we had a lot of fun. We rode last year, and I think we had 85 riders. We're hoping to get over 100 riders. I mean, it sells the Richmond City brand. This is who we are. We're a healthy community. Black and White Days Week. How many applicants did we have for the parade last year?
132.
132. That was up probably 10 or 15 or 20 from the year before. These are all good things for our community. They're low impact. We get a lot of people involved, and they really mean something to us. And so the RAPS tax survey that we sent out, people want pickleball courts. No surprise, right? We've got some real challenges with that. The typical award that we get from RAPS tax in a given year is about $70,000. Justin, we had a bid. If we were to, for example, again, this is just talk, if we were to resurface the tennis court area, just to give you an idea, repurpose that for pickleball courts, the bid we got for doing half of it was $100,000. So that would give you 2 pickleball courts. They'd have to lift some concrete, resurface it, and it would look a lot like what Smithfield has as far as the surface goes. It's extremely expensive. Is it a benefit to the community? I think so, and our residents think so as well. But it brings up something that I think we ought to start thinking about as a community. We do not have the budget to be able to afford building $150,000 or $200,000 worth of capital improvements every year. We are looking at expanding the city shop. We're going to talk about that in the February council meeting. We have bids that we thought might come in at $150,000. They came in at $275,000. I mean, those are the realities of our time. We need the space. We need a washdown area for the city vehicles. They get salt on them and snow and water, and they rust, and it creates more and more maintenance problems. But I'm bringing that up because, we are still doing quite well. The typical revenue sources, the sales tax really drives what we can do. I have been in contact with the Lewiston City Mayor. We've been talking on and off about possibly joining forces with Lewiston, just as an idea, of creating a recreational facility at Cub River. We have some extra land there, just an idea, an indoor facility. Quite honestly, Mayor Erickson would love to have a pool. I would love a pool in our neighborhood. I don't know that that's ever even feasible, but what I would like the community to think about, we have the opportunity to consider ways of funding those things. Smithfield City, for example, did a bond when they built the rec center that's attached to Skyview High School. The circumstances are different. We don't have a high school to attach to, but they did a 20-year bond. They took the money, they added some money from the community, they built the facility, and after 20 years, the cost to fund the bond went away. Some other cities add a property tax to it that is specific. For example, Smithfield City has a library tax. North Logan, excuse me, not Smithfield City, pardon me. North Logan has a library tax. We fund the library out of our general fund and have done for as long as I know. 110 years, yes. So getting facilities built, if we were to talk together and as a community and decide that the community wanted to find a way to fund some of these capital improvements for recreation, an idea would be that we would bond for it and then pay it back a little bit every year over 20 years. They would be substantial assets for the community and just something to think about. It would cause property taxes to go up even higher than they are, but that's the point where the public really would need to give us guidance on whether it's time to do something like that. The money is probably available even with interest rates being the way that they are. I bring that up only because as our community grows, I think our quality of life can be largely dependent upon the recreation that we can have within the city, and I think we'd all like to see that. That was basically the summary from our survey that we did. We asked some other questions, and perhaps many of you got a chance to answer those and give your feedback. So with that, I don't have any other things to share. If you would like to ask a question of the council or our city staff or engineer, please approach the microphone. You don't have to tell us your name because it's not a recorded meeting, but we would love to hear from you.
I was wondering if you could just give us the status on what's going on with the fire department. I know 2 supposed to be on-staff people there now, so just let us know what's going on, okay?
Great question. Fire department. Hey, this is one of our biggest wins of 2023. Cache County funded through the county council 2 full-time firefighters. They are in our building from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to Richmond City. And they are sweeping, cleaning, fixing. We did agree to remodel the shower area
Shower, bathroom, kitchen.
to make it more livable for them, and it's so far it's been great. That's a great question. Am I missing anything, Lyle, that you're aware of on the fire department? Does that answer your question, Kenley?
I was gonna say, I'll add that, Holly's been having conversations with Jeremy Hunt about offering a CPR and first aid so that our
Jeremy
staff,
is the battalion chief.
assistant,
Assistant.
yeah, and he's gonna facilitate training for the city employees, especially where we receive that AED, so that everything can be correctly used and they can be educated in that manner.
Would the public be invited if that was?
I haven't confirmed on that yet. I've just reached out to him. He's looking at his schedule for that.
Okay. Sounds great.
And that
Great question.
that AED that was donated by a resident cost over $2,000, and that person paid the entire bill as a donation to the city. One
AED
resident.
stands for automated, no,
It's a defibrillator.
defibrillator. Yes, Marlo, please approach the bench.
My days is springing up or over, so.
Please share with us your thoughts, questions, whatever you'd like.
Slow amble over. My name is Marlo Adkins, I'm a resident. I came in for the purpose of asking a question on 4th West, but that's been answered. But you've made some comments I think you ought to be aware of. We anticipated expanding the MBR. On the north wall, subsurface, there have been put through pipes and conduits. You'll have to get down there along it to find out where, but we anticipated expanding to the north. And so you do have existing pipes and conduits going through the concrete foundation down there.
To facilitate,
Yep.
facilitate expansion.
That may or may not be of
Are you aware of
assistance to
that,
you when
Weston?
you expand.
Holly Joe found the original plans, it sounds like, and got those to Madeline, who's working with us out there at the plant now. So I hope they're on the original plans.
Aqua Engineering may not have put those on the original plan.
Okay, so I knew that there was opportunity to expand, but I didn't know the details. That's very valuable information.
Yeah, they go through the wall on the north side, but again, I'm not sure that Aqua put them on, we dealt with
Okay.
Aqua Engineering,
Yeah.
and I'm not too sure that they put that on, that's why. I
Yeah,
mentioned
that's great. So they run through the north wall of the plant.
the North wall.
Okay, great.
Good to know.
And Mayor, I think you and I need to talk later about black and white.
Okay,
Okay, I won't take up time here.
sounds like a plan. Holly, would you set up a time that Marlo and I can visit? That sounds great. Any other questions? Craig, you look like you want to ask us a question.
I don't have any questions. But just a point of interest, when you mentioned the broadcasting of black and white days, we bring a company in called Walton Webcasting that does the broadcasting. Our show is in between 25 and 35 countries every year. We're a worldwide show. Over 25,000 viewers view our show on Thursday and Friday of the week of Black and White throughout the nation and throughout the world. Everybody knows about Richmond Black and White Days in the world. There's no question.
Thank you, Craig. Go, yeah, well, so that everybody can hear you, Patricia.
Okay. So I don't totally understand I heard like the townhouses and stuff, they're east or whatever. My original thing I heard was that they were supposed to be like low income housing, but that does not look like that's what it is. So can you explain to me, like, it's just somebody just bought it?
It's an investor that bought it. It's for profit. It does not have an HOA. There are 104 units, and the first 6 are for sale. If I understand correctly from what we heard from the realtor, the average price is like $350.
329 to 360 area.
But it's for profit, so no, it's not a tax credit deal, not low income housing. They are townhomes. They are very popular. They're well appointed, very similar to others that we've seen, and they seem to sell quite well. I don't know that I can give you any other information, but your neighbor owns it.
And unfortunately, in today's day and age, those are considered affordable housing.
and they are. They are.
Yeah, well, I was just confused because that's what was originally said.
It's a great question.
Like, that every city needed to, so that there wasn't just affordable housing in Logan, that everybody needed to share.
Yeah.
So I was just very surprised. That was just my thought of it, and as I drive by every day, I was like, and when I heard the cost of them.
Affordable housing is a buzzword.
The townhouses, and then is the totally separate, the houses, the luxury houses in there.
So the designation of that parcel, which is 11 acres, as multifamily housing happened before the turn of the century. It's been zoned that way for nearly 30 years. But until the most recent owner purchased it, nothing happened on it. So no, it's a PUD. It's 11 acres. There's 104 permitted units. They're going to have a clubhouse, a pool, and some recreation facilities. So, great question.
Don't you say no HOA, you're gonna have a clubhouse and pool?
It does not, that I'm aware of, it does not have an HOA.
No HOA.
So who pays for the clubhouse and pool?
Don't know on it. I don't know that, Vern. That's a good question. But as far as the HOA maintaining the streets, that they didn't offer that to the city.
It's an HOA.
Justin's clarifying things. So it's an HOA, but they don't. It's a limited service or limited whatever. Okay. Terry.
Just had a question. With all the growth happening in the community, when I moved here in 2001, we were just under 1,900 population. We're over 3,000 now. And with all this development going on, what's the plan going forward as far as being able to hire new city staff, new city employees, making sure we can keep at least the same level of service we've had and have that go on into the future?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask Holly to answer that question. Because Holly has the answer. At least the intermediate answer.
I was going to say, not necessarily the answer, but so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build upon what we have with our city staff. We have very strong, what we would feel as department heads with our road, water, sewer, MVR plants, and parks and rec. Currently, you may have seen that we have a part-time opening for an employee. What we're going to do is just try to get our city staff help. That's the biggest thing that we learned about the events that have happened in the last few months is that our city staff needs help. They're not getting enough help, so we're going to try to do our best to implement that with new hires, and we're going to see how they work with the staff that we currently have. The biggest thing that I'm trying to build currently is making a team. We want to be a team effort. We all want to work together so that it shows when we are working and when the residents see us out that we are working as a team and that we can start to build upon that, like Terry mentioned. It is in the works. We are trying to look ahead at projections of people that we would need to staff if we do an expansion, but those conversations are definitely being had because we are feeling those stresses. We currently have Melissa Tittenzer, who is my assistant. She has been the court clerk, and she has been a huge asset to our team when it comes to city staffing. We got a new front desk that helped, and as you can see, that happened very quickly because we realized we have so much going on in the city and the office, and luckily we've had a council that is listening to what we need as a city staff that's there every day, that's working every day. And so we're hoping that with these changes that we are trying to implement, that it will work. So it's a work in progress, but currently I feel like it's working really well. So we'll see how that works in the next few months. But I am very hopeful because I've got a really good team. So you're only as good as the team you got. So
Since I've been in office trying to address some of these issues, we've hired one full-time person for Public Works, who's now over our parks. The people that Holly Jo mentioned, Holly actually joined us again last May. She left for a bit, came back, has been instrumental in creating a lot of the administrative procedures that we really need to make the city work. It's got to be treated like a business. It's a little different than a business in that you have fixed costs, you have fixed income. Okay, it's not like Cache Valley Bank where Joel and I and a couple of your neighbors might work. We can grow our business. We can find new borrowers to lend to. We can expand our footprint. We just opened a branch in Cedar City. We hope to find lots of great customers there. Cities can't do that. You know, cities have fixed income and fixed expenses. And so you can really only expand. Terry brings up a point that I think is really critical. Justin, is the number 14%, I mean, of 100% of the bill that you get to pay on your property tax, we all know the lion's share goes to the school district, but about 12% roughly stays in Richmond. We are very grateful for that money. We've had to raise taxes. It's not been pretty. That tax levy, though, had been the same until 2018. I think it was the same as it was under Mayor Traveler. And it never got increased, and we struggled. The cemetery district has had to increase. Now, the cemetery is separate from the city, but the cemetery district hires the city employees, Holly, to manage. It looks beautiful. I mean, it really does. The work that they put into it, that's done by city employees, but it's by contract with them. They've had to raise their fees, their costs, or their tax rather, for equipment, for wages, for materials and supplies. That's just the world that we live in, and we've all been through that. The real upside that a city has doesn't come from new homes. The upside comes from sales tax. That's just a fact of life. I'd buy a vehicle in Preston, Idaho because of the reciprocal agreement with the car dealerships up there. They actually send the property tax to Richmond City. If you buy on Amazon, guess where the tax goes if you live in Richmond City? We get our portion of the sales tax. We also get a portion from the state of Utah. We are extremely grateful for that, and it's been those sources that are increasing slowly. Justin mentioned that the sales tax may not be growing as fast as we'd like to see it, but this has all been afforded by a combination of conservative increases when we've had to do it, and then also sales tax increases. Itty bitty equipment company sells a part. They have to pay sales tax on it, or Daryl or Lyle fixes my car, I pay sales tax. 1/6 of that stays in the city, the rest goes to the state. The state launders it a little bit somehow, however they do that, and they do end up sending some of it back to us, okay? That's just the reality of it. We get some back from the state. I don't know how else to say it. So These are all good things. Disperses it. They administer the laundry. It was probably not the best choice of words, but anyway. No, it's not recorded, and I'm just telling you. So, how is the city going to get from point A to point B? So every time a house gets built, there's an impact fee. But the reason that is charged is because let's say everybody in the room here lives in Richmond City. We build our facilities based on, I'm oversimplifying, and Justin's going to correct me if I say this wrong. Every house that gets built takes a fraction of your capacity away from your public services, sewer and water, okay? So under the law, the additional house creates burden on that system, and it takes capacity away. And so that money goes to offset the cost of the system. And so that helps sewer and water. But it doesn't necessarily help us that much with roads. It doesn't necessarily help us that much with police protection or with fire. You know, we have a great relationship with Smithfield City and Cache County. Were it not for Smithfield City, I mean, we really struggled trying to find enough volunteers to keep our fire going, and we entered into an agreement with Smithfield City. My estimation, it's been a great partnership. The day may come where it won't work. They've told us that. Smithfield is 15,000 people. The day could come in the next 5 or 6 years where they say, you know what, we've got so many needs for our own populace here. We'll go another 2 years, but you guys have got to build your own fire department. And we might have to do that. We already have the facility. We've been partnering with Cache County. You're aware of that. That day could come and we might have to address it, and we're prepared to if we have to. Police protection is a different matter. You pay property tax to Cache County. Cache County provides police protection to the city. A part of that is just because we pay into the county tax system. But then we pay, Justin, how much are we paying the county this year? 100,000 for police protection?
Yeah, we will pay, our contract just took an increase, which we are still very thankful for, but this year we will pay, sorry, I want to be right. So we pay for police protection. We cannot buy a truck for this. We pay $52,350 for a year.
Throwing Smithfield Mayor Monson under the bus, Smithfield's budget for police protection is 1.1 million, something like that. So there you go. You know, I believe in the partnership. You know, the interlocal agreements with other cities, with the county. The chip sealing that gets done, I'm rambling here, but when you see the chip sealing trucks that are going throughout Richmond, that's one of the best ways that we can spend money. The county is a fantastic partner. We spend $80,000 a year in chip sealing, and we can keep our roads without having to remove and replace, which is horribly expensive. So it's all a delicate balance. We have some great professionals that work for the city. We really do. And very grateful to have them serving for us, with us. And you know, there's 4 or 5 active subdivisions in the city. There will be a new one that's starting on 300 East in the next couple of weeks or month. That'll bring 11 new spaces when they're done. I mean, we talk about growth. Each of us has our own opinion about growth. I think Daryl said it best. You can direct it, but you can't stop it. And I think our responsibility as elected officials is to do the very best we can to accommodate the growth with the right set of checks and balances so that the quality of life can be preserved as much as possible without changing the character of our city. That's how I see it. So, great questions.
I'd say just a couple things, just for the audience, AED, whoever's listening in, automated external defibrillator. So there's a big word for you. And also the survey that the mayor mentioned in regards to the RAPS tax applications, those results will be posted tomorrow and emailed out so that you can see what sort of direction the city is requesting. All of those ideas came from members of the community, council, and staff. So you'll be able to see those numbers that we've seen as well.
Okay. Dave.
With respect to the AED, great idea. In all the schools I worked at, you're going to get training on them. That's great. They require a battery to be replaced periodically. Those batteries are not cheap. Just giving you a heads up. You need to for maintenance and battery replacement on those little guys that just sit there and it'll be dead.
Note taken, Justin.
Note taken. Maybe I'll, as we maybe wrap up here, let's talk just briefly about the 400 West project. We're going to open bids tomorrow. I hope that we can afford what we find. We were very successful. I'm very grateful. We got money. So there's a 0.25% sales tax levied when in the county. That money gets collected. It's between $6 and $7 million a year. Cities can make an application to use that money to add infrastructure for their roads. Okay. We got 100% of the allotment for the rural communities last year. And they recommended that we get it. We scored better than the others. There are certain communities that aren't very happy about that. And I'm sorry, but we want it fair and square, and please don't keep bringing it up. But what I'm wanting to say is we got about $900,000 worth of funding. We're going to open the bids tomorrow. Hopefully there's a bid in there and a contractor that we feel like can really get it done. It may be that we have to spend a little bit more than we anticipated, but if you think about it, if that road costs, I'm just using really big money here, $1.3 million, okay, to do that road. 900,000 of that is going to come from a grant through the tax base, through the tax. So we would have to spend $400,000 out of our own city's pocket. There is such an incentive for us to find the money to do that, that we, the elected officials, may need to address that, because if we don't use that money, it's going to cost us $1.3 million. You see what I'm saying? If we don't use that funding and spend a little bit more money, then we lose the opportunity. We'll never have the money unless, you know, the area develops, and there's a lot of other things that could happen down there. But it's a big deal. And it's a big deal because it's going to uproot some trees. It's going to cut back, you know, because of the city's right of way. It's going to be disruptive to some of the families that are there. We're going to do everything we can to minimize that. But the benefit is substantial. I'll give you an example. Daryl Black told me about a scenario he saw of people trying to walk across the street to get to Lee's across the highway. Okay? One of the reasons that we got the funding was we could show them that with a pedestrian path of a sidewalk coming from 400 West, we could get people safely to that place to shop, and without endangering lives, you know, using crosswalks and sidewalks and things. That won't be the last thing that we need to do there. I mean, there's a sidewalk that goes nowhere that goes to the north on the west side of the road. Daryl brought that up also, that we need to figure out how we can connect the two and find a safe place for people to cross. Why is that important? Because humans are some of the hardest animals to herd that there ever were. And so they like to run across streets in oncoming traffic. And we need to do the very best that we can to provide safety in the community. And that's, I believe that's why the technical community, the technical group that looks at our loans, looked at that and gave us the high marks that they did. This is probably a one-time thing. I don't know that we'll ever see this kind of funding come into our community for that purpose. So I just ask you to bear with us as that's coming together. We will enter into an agreement with the winning bidder if we can make that all work. We would like to see them start somewhere in May, and I think that we bid it so that they have to be done by the end of October. That's a little later than I'd like to see, but you really don't want them laying a blacktop in cold weather because the adhesion factor goes down. It's just not the most ideal thing. So that's probably the biggest thing. The 500 North, I'm not sure where we are. The county really needs to step forward and tell us where they are and get going, but it's very possible they could bid that out in the next month, and we could have both projects going at one time during the summer. So, but Cache County is leading that. Our part in it is about 4% of the total, and it's about $1.5 million. So we really don't have a lot to it. The county's directing it, and we really have to defer to them when they're ready. Yes.
Do we know what other businesses are going to be coming in next to Lee's?
That's a great question. Holly, do we know anything about any businesses that might be coming to Richmond that are in Lee's?
Yes, so Dollar Tree is back in. We're just waiting for them to pay their impact fees. They had pulled away for reasons on their end when it came to the corporate. It had nothing to do with the city. So we're excited about that. They're going to be coming back. Their impact fees are ready to go. So as soon as they come do that, they can break ground. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks. Alexa said that was coming. So we'll hope for that. The other rumor is an auto parts store. It is not a Napa. So anyway, but it is supposedly just in their auto parts store. And when I see the application, then we'll go from there.
So where would they be?
If you look on the map, when you go home, go to cachecounty.org, click on parcel viewer, and then go down and get the map that shows the entire county with each of the cities. Click on Richmond, and it will take you right to the plat. That's the most current information that you're going to see. We have no idea. But it's a great question, but it's private property, so we don't really know. Yes?
Dollar Tree came to planning and zoning, that's gonna go directly north of these, the parcel right next to these.
Okay.
That's what was presented in P and Z,
Good to know.
Adjacent to or just
right next to it.
Good. Kelly, I think we've reached the end of the row. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Yeah, on behalf of the Lions, we want to thank everybody for being here. Thank all the city council employees. I don't think they're in it for the money necessarily, so thank all the residents. I'm sure everybody in this room has volunteered or currently volunteers doing something, and that's what always makes a great community. So with that, thanks again. It looks like there's refreshments, and I'm sure somebody wants you to eat, so I'd grab that on your way out too.
Thank you.
Thanks.